Whose side are you on?
I'm on your side if you'll make room for me.
Dinner'll be on in a few minutes.
I'm not hungry.
Oh, now, Betty.
Father, please.
All right.
Behind America's most wholesome 1950s family lurked shocking real-life secrets. Child star drug addiction, marijuana arrests, a secret government propaganda episode, and a lead actor's decades-long battle with suicidal depression. The perfect Anderson household wasn't quite what it seemed. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Father Knows Best. Fact 1. The show was actually filmed in a former Blondie movie house.
Here she comes, Bud. There she comes. Boy, what a queen.
The cozy Anderson family home that viewers fell in love with on Father Knows Best had already been entertaining audiences for more than a decade before the show even began. The house was originally constructed in 1941 as part of Columbia Pictures' backlot specifically for the popular Blondie movie series, which starred Penny Singleton and Arthur Lake as the comic strip characters Blondie and Dagwood Bumstead. After the Blondie films wrapped up in the late 1940s, this versatile piece of Hollywood real estate found new life when Father Knows Best producers decided it was perfect for representing middle-class American family life. The house sat on what became known as Blondie Street at the Warner Ranch in Burbank, California, which was originally part of Columbia Pictures' studio lot. But the Anderson home's television career was far from over when Father Knows Best ended in 1960. The same facade was quickly remodeled and repurposed to become the home of Dennis Mitchell's grouchy neighbor, Mr. Wilson, in the Dennis the Menace series that premiered in 1959. The producers made some cosmetic changes to the exterior, but it was unmistakably the same structure that had housed 3 different fictional families. The house's most famous transformation came in the 1960s when it underwent another makeover to become the residence of astronaut Tony Nelson in I Dream of Jeannie. This time, the exterior received more significant modifications to give it a more modern bachelor pad appearance suitable for the show's premise. This remarkable piece of Hollywood history didn't stop there. Over the decades, the same house appeared in numerous other television shows, including Hazel, Bewitched, The Monkees, and The Partridge Family, making it one of the most frequently used residential sets in television history. The Warner Ranch property where it stood was eventually demolished in 2023, ending an 82-year run as one of Hollywood's most recognizable homes. Fact 2. Robert Young battled depression and attempted suicide.
Oh, Father, I didn't know you were going to miss me so much.
Okay, you win. Take this one. It covers you up the most.
Behind Robert Young's warm portrayal of America's ideal father, Jim Anderson, lay a devastating personal struggle that lasted nearly his entire adult life. While millions of viewers saw Young as the epitome of calm wisdom and paternal guidance, the actor was quietly fighting severe depression and alcoholism that would plague him for 45 years. Young's mental health battles began long before Father Knows Best made him a household name, stemming partly from his frustration with Hollywood's casting practices during his film career. Despite appearing in more than 100 movies between 1931 and 1962, he was often relegated to bland supporting roles and felt undervalued by the industry. The irony of playing such a well-adjusted character while struggling internally was not lost on Young, who later admitted that the public's inability to separate him from Jim Anderson became a pain in the ass. The contrast between his on-screen persona and private reality created additional pressure. Young once explained, "I wasn't Jim Anderson, but it was hard for the public to accept that." This disconnect between his public image and personal struggles intensified his feelings of isolation and contributed to his drinking problem. Young's lowest point came in January 1991, when his depression, combined with the onset of Alzheimer's disease and heart problems, led him to attempt suicide. The incident finally brought his long-hidden mental health issues into the open, shocking fans who had no idea their beloved television father had been suffering for decades. Rather than retreat from public life, Young chose to use his experience to help others. He spoke candidly about his struggles and became an advocate for mental health awareness, working to pass the 708 Illinois tax referendum, which established property taxes to fund mental health programs. The Robert Young Community Mental Health Center was later named in his honor, recognizing his efforts to turn his personal pain into a force for helping others who faced similar battles. Fact 3. The U.S. government commissioned a secret episode.
Helping to keep America strong and helping to stiffen our peace power.
In 1959, Father Knows Best became an unlikely tool of American government propaganda when the U.S. Department of the Treasury commissioned a special 30-minute episode that television audiences would never see. The episode, titled 24 Hours in Tyrant Land, was created specifically to promote the purchase of U.S. savings bonds as part of the Treasury Department's National Savings Campaign. This unique episode featured the beloved Anderson family in a completely different scenario than their usual wholesome domestic adventures. Instead of dealing with typical family problems like school dances or teenage crushes, the Anderson children found themselves struggling to live under an oppressive dictatorship. The storyline was designed to highlight the freedoms Americans enjoyed while encouraging viewers to support their country financially through bond purchases. What made this episode particularly unusual was its distribution method. Rather than airing on CBS or NBC like regular Father Knows Best episodes, 24 Hours in Tyrant Land was distributed directly to schools, churches, and civic groups across the country. These organizations would show the film to their members as part of educational programs or community meetings, making it a grassroots propaganda effort rather than a mass media broadcast. The Treasury Department's decision to use Father Knows Best for this purpose wasn't random. By 1959, the show had become deeply embedded in American culture as the ideal representation of family life, making the Anderson family perfect spokespeople for patriotic values. The government recognized that Robert Young's trusted image as America's father figure would lend credibility to their financial message. This lost episode remained hidden from public view for decades until it was eventually included as a bonus feature on the Season 1 DVD release, allowing modern viewers to finally see this bizarre piece of Cold War-era entertainment. The episode stands as a fascinating example of how popular television shows were sometimes recruited to serve government interests during the height of American concerns about communist threats. Fact 4. Lauren Chapin became a drug-addicted prostitute.
I have to say that the Lord helped me turn it around. While I was in county jail, I had met a man who was a Dominican Catholic priest who began to witness to me about Jesus Christ.
Lauren Chapin's life after playing the adorable youngest Anderson daughter Kathy, nicknamed Kitten, became a devastating example of how child stardom can lead to personal destruction. When Father Knows Best ended in 1960, Chapin found herself completely typecast at just 15 years old, unable to land any other acting roles because casting directors could only see her as the innocent little girl from the show. The transition from beloved child star to forgotten teenager was made worse by serious problems in Chapin's real family life that had existed even during the show's run. She later revealed that she had been sexually abused by her father and other family members, creating a traumatic foundation that the end of her acting career only made worse. Without the structure and purpose that Father Knows Best had provided, Chapin began experimenting with marijuana and alcohol while still a teenager. Her substance abuse quickly escalated to harder drugs, including heroin, as she struggled with failed marriages and the birth of 2 children. To support her growing drug habit, Chapin turned to prostitution, initially commanding high prices from men who wanted to sleep with the former child star they remembered as Kitten. However, her situation deteriorated rapidly, and she eventually found herself working the streets for as little as $5 per encounter, sometimes servicing 30 to 40 men in a single night. During one particularly devastating period, Chapin was essentially held captive by a heroin dealer who forced her to work as a prostitute. Her mental state became so fragile that during a drug-induced breakdown, she attempted to cut off her left hand with a meat cleaver, leaving permanent scars. She spent 3 years cycling between prison and mental institutions, arrested multiple times for various charges, including attempting to cash fraudulent checks. Chapin's story eventually took a redemptive turn when she found Christianity during a rehabilitation program, but her 15-year descent into addiction and crime remains one of the most shocking contrasts between a beloved television character and the actor's real life. Fact 5. Billy Gray's marijuana arrest ended his career.
Now, you know how girls are, Dad.
Tell me.
They react in an unusual way when they hear you may go in the service.
Billy Gray's promising acting career came to an abrupt end in 1962 when a routine traffic stop turned into a career-destroying scandal that would forever change how Hollywood viewed the former all-American teenager. Gray, who had played the lovable middle child Bud Anderson for 6 years, was simply trying to park his car when a police officer approached his window and detected the smell of marijuana. The officer's search of Gray's vehicle uncovered what Gray later described as a little bag of seeds and stems that he had forgotten about under his car seat. These were marijuana remnants that he had intended to give to a friend, but the discovery led to his immediate arrest for drug possession. Gray had been smoking marijuana since he was 14 years old, but in the early 1960s, any association with drugs was considered a major scandal, especially for someone with his wholesome television image. Gray pleaded no contest to the charges and received a sentence of 1 to 10 years in prison, though he ultimately served only 45 days at a prison farm. During his time there, he ironically found himself distributing athletic equipment that had been donated by actor Robert Mitchum, who had previously served time at the same facility for his own marijuana conviction. However, while Mitchum's established tough guy image helped him weather the scandal, Gray's career was essentially over. The contrast between his arrest and his television persona created a media firestorm. As Gray later explained, "I didn't think it was such a big deal, but the press saw me as this all-American boy turned dope fiend." His talent agent at MCA immediately dropped him, telling Gray they could no longer represent him. The typecasting that had made him famous as the wholesome teenager Bud Anderson now worked against him, as casting directors couldn't reconcile his arrest with his clean-cut image. Gray's situation worsened when he appeared as a heroin dealer in the 1971 film Dusty and Sweets McGee, with critic Leonard Maltin incorrectly claiming that Gray had been recruited from actual drug dealers, further damaging his reputation. Fact 6. The show used one of TV's first laugh tracks.
I'm worried.
So am I. I don't know which is going to go first, the ceiling or my nerves.
Father Knows Best was among the pioneering television shows to use an innovative sound enhancement technology that would forever change how audiences experienced comedy on television. The show utilized Charles Douglas's revolutionary invention called the laugh box, which was officially known as the audience response duplicator, to add carefully selected laughter and audience reactions to episodes during post-production. Charles Douglas, a sound engineer working for CBS Studios in the early 1950s, had recognized that recorded television shows lacked the natural energy and timing that live audience laughter provided. His solution was an ingenious machine about the size of a modern dishwasher that contained multiple tape recordings of different types of laughter, applause, and audience reactions. The device featured a keyboard that allowed Douglas to select specific sounds, along with a foot pedal that controlled the length and volume of each laugh track segment. Douglas had initially built his collection of audience sounds by recording live shows like The Red Skelton Show and other variety programs, capturing genuine reactions that he could later use to enhance pre-recorded episodes. His meticulous approach included keeping detailed handwritten ledgers that documented which shows used his services, what dates the work was completed, and how much he charged for each session. Father Knows Best producer Eugene B. Rodney became one of Douglas's regular clients, and according to Douglas's records, he would often become emotional while dubbing in the sound effects and audience responses during post-production sessions. Rodney reportedly would weep happily and copiously as he added the laugh tracks to each episode because he genuinely loved the series and wanted every comedic moment to land perfectly with viewers. This technology, which seemed almost futuristic for its time, helped Father Knows Best achieve the warm, engaging atmosphere that made audiences feel like they were part of a larger group enjoying the Anderson family's adventures together. Fact 7. Jane Wyatt never actually vacuumed in pearls.
Well, as a matter of fact, they're doing something quite unusual. They're being quiet.
Jane Wyatt's portrayal of the perfectly dressed housewife Margaret Anderson created one of television's most enduring images of 1950s domestic life. But the actress herself lived a completely different reality behind the scenes. In a candid interview years later, Wyatt revealed the amusing truth about her relationship with housework, stating, "I never vacuumed at home wearing my pearls. In fact, I never vacuumed at all. I was always working at the studio." This confession highlighted the vast difference between Wyatt's real life and the character she played so convincingly for 6 years. While Margaret Anderson was depicted as the ideal homemaker who effortlessly managed household duties while maintaining her elegant appearance, Wyatt was actually a busy working actress who spent most of her time on studio sets rather than in domestic settings. Her comment about never vacuuming revealed both her sense of humor about the role and the practical reality that she simply didn't have time for traditional housework. Wyatt came from a privileged background that made her even more removed from the typical housewife experience. Born Jane Waddington Wyatt, in 1910, she was the daughter of a wealthy Wall Street investment banker and a mother who was a drama critic and playwright. She had attended the fashionable Chapin School and Barnard College in New York before pursuing her acting career, and her upbringing had included household staff rather than personal experience with domestic chores. The irony wasn't lost on Wyatt, who also noted that she would have gone crazy staying at home like Margaret Anderson, and that her family knew this about her personality. Her honest admission that she was always working at the studio instead of managing a household underscored how the perfect television mother was actually created by a career-focused woman who had little in common with the domestic ideal she portrayed so memorably on screen. Fact 8. The kitchen set had real working appliances.
His name is Grover Adams.
Well, it's nice to know you, Grover.
How do you do, Grover?
Isn't he nice? And look here, I can whoop him too.
The Anderson family kitchen on Father Knows Best stood out from other television sets of the era because every appliance actually worked, creating an authentic domestic environment that was rare in 1950s television production. While most TV shows used fake furniture and non-functional props to save money and avoid technical complications, the producers of Father Knows Best invested in a fully operational kitchen that served as both a filming location and a genuine workspace for the cast and crew. Every morning before filming began, the studio staff would use the kitchen's real oven and stovetop to prepare fresh sweet rolls and coffee that were shared among everyone working on the set. This daily ritual created a warm, homey atmosphere that helped the actors feel more comfortable and authentic in their family roles. The kitchen's refrigerator wasn't just a prop either, as crew members regularly stored their personal lunches inside it, treating the set like an actual family kitchen. The attention to detail extended beyond just functionality to include realistic design elements that viewers couldn't even see on their black and white television screens. The kitchen featured genuine red wallpaper, blue countertops, and white cabinets that created a cheerful, lived-in appearance, even though audiences at home could only see these elements in shades of gray. This commitment to authenticity was part of Screen Gem's broader philosophy of paying attention to details that enhanced the show's realistic feel. Unlike many studios that use three-wall sets with live audiences, Screen Gems built complete four-wall rooms that allowed for more diverse camera angles and helped create the intimate atmosphere that made viewers feel like they were actually inside the Anderson home. The functional kitchen also served practical purposes during the long filming days, as the production schedule often required the cast and crew to work 6 days a week, sometimes for 12 hours at a time, making the availability of real food preparation and storage essential for keeping everyone fed and comfortable. Fact 9. Eleanor Donahue's pregnancy was hidden with elaborate tricks.
That's quite an outfit.
You like it?
You look like a Swiss barmaid in an English movie. Where are you going, to a yodeling contest?
When Eleanor Donahue became pregnant with her first child during the third season of Father Knows Best, the producers faced a significant challenge since her character Betty Anderson was supposed to be a teenage daughter, not an expectant mother. The show's creators developed an increasingly creative series of concealment techniques to hide Donahue's growing pregnancy from viewers while continuing to film her scenes throughout the season. The production team's first strategy involved dressing Donahue in unusually bulky coats and oversized clothing that would disguise her changing figure. As her pregnancy progressed, the writers began positioning her character behind tall counters, desks, and other furniture pieces that would block viewers from seeing her midsection. In several episodes, Betty Anderson can be seen walking into rooms while strategically holding large objects like books, purses, or other props directly in front of her body. Despite these efforts, Donahue's pregnancy became increasingly obvious to careful viewers, particularly in an episode titled Grandpa Retires from 1957, which marked the first time her condition was clearly visible on screen. The production team had reached the limits of what clothing and props could accomplish, and Donahue's advancing pregnancy was becoming impossible to completely hide from the cameras. The situation became more complicated as filming continued, leading to Donahue's absence from several episodes during the later part of the season when her pregnancy was too advanced to conceal. The episode Shoot for the Moon and several others from the third season featured notably fewer scenes with Betty Anderson, as the writers had to work around Donahue's availability and physical condition. Donahue gave birth to her son Brian Ackerman during the show's run, and she later returned to filming with the creative team, having successfully navigated one of early television's more challenging production obstacles without ever acknowledging the pregnancy within the show's storyline. Fact 10. The radio version was much darker and meaner.
Wait, Daddy! Wouldn't you like to sit down in your chair and relax?
Let me get rid of these first.
Oh, I'll take them. You just sit down.
The Father Knows Best that aired on radio from 1949 to 1954 featured a completely different Jim Anderson, who bore little resemblance to the wise, patient father that television audiences came to love. The radio version portrayed Jim as a sarcastic, domineering patriarch who frequently lost his temper with his children and spoke to them in ways that would shock viewers familiar with the gentle TV dad. Radio Jim Anderson regularly called his children names and made harsh comments that were typical of radio comedy characters of that era, but completely at odds with his later television persona. He would tell his family members things like, "What a bunch of stupid children I have," and frequently dismissed their concerns with cutting remarks. When his son Bud would annoy him, Radio Jim wouldn't hesitate to tell the boy to go jump in a lake, rather than offering the thoughtful guidance that became his trademark on television. This sarcastic attitude wasn't limited to Jim Anderson alone, as the entire family dynamic on the radio show was built around a much more cynical brand of humor. The sharp-tongued exchanges and put-downs that characterized radio comedy of the time created a family atmosphere that was far removed from the warm, supportive environment that would later define the television series. Robert Young himself acknowledged this dramatic difference between the two versions of his character. In a later interview, he revealed that he never quite liked the radio version because it had to have laughs, and he wanted to create a warm relationship show instead. When the series moved to television, Young specifically requested an entirely new cast and different perspective to transform the concept into something more positive and family-friendly. The contrast between Radio Jim's domineering behavior and TV Jim's gentle wisdom represents one of the most dramatic character transformations in the history of entertainment, as the same actor playing the same role became completely different people across different media formats. Fact 11. The show was canceled twice before finding success.
You said you had a sister. What's her name?
You want her new name or her old one?
She got two?
More than that. I used to call her Toad Frog, 'cause she'd puff up when she didn't get away.
Father Knows Best experienced one of television history's most dramatic rescue stories, surviving not one, but 2 cancellations before finally achieving the success that made it a classic. The show's troubled journey began when it premiered on CBS in October 1954 in a challenging 10 o'clock Sunday nighttime slot that prevented many families with children from watching together. The late time slot proved disastrous for a family-oriented show, as parents were reluctant to let their children stay up past 10 o'clock on a school night. The show's sponsor, Kent Cigarettes, became dissatisfied with the low ratings after just 13 episodes and decided not to renew their 26-week commitment. In March 1955, CBS officially canceled Father Knows Best, seemingly ending the Anderson family's television run after only 1 season. However, the cancellation triggered an unexpected response from viewers who had discovered and loved the show. Thousands of fans wrote passionate letters to CBS demanding that the network bring back Father Knows Best, creating one of the first major viewer mail campaigns in television history. The overwhelming response convinced NBC executives to take a chance on the canceled series, and they picked up the show for their 1955 fall schedule. NBC's decision proved brilliant as the network moved Father Knows Best to a much more family-friendly 8:30 time slot on Wednesday nights, allowing parents and children to watch together. The show flourished on NBC for 3 successful seasons, climbing steadily in the ratings and winning multiple Emmy Awards. However, NBC then made the puzzling decision to cancel the show again in 1958, despite its growing popularity. This second cancellation prompted another outcry from fans, and CBS, recognizing their earlier mistake, quickly swooped in to reclaim the series. Father Knows Best returned to CBS for its final 2 seasons from 1958 to 1960, ultimately completing its run as one of the most beloved family sitcoms in television history. Fact 12. The cast worked brutal. 6-day weeks.
Dad, can I play baseball?
Sure, I don't know why not.
See there, Mom?
Unless your mother has something she wants you to do.
The production schedule for Father Knows Best was significantly more demanding than most television shows of the 1950s, with cast members routinely working 6 days a week and often putting in 12-hour days to achieve the high production standards that made the show stand out from its competitors. While many television productions of that era finished their work by Friday, the Father Knows Best cast and crew found themselves regularly returning to the studio on Saturdays to complete episodes that hadn't been finished during the regular weekdays. The grueling schedule was partly due to the show's commitment to extensive rehearsal periods that were unusual for television at the time. The production followed a strict weekly routine that began with rehearsals on Mondays and Tuesdays, followed by 3 full days of actual filming from Wednesday through Friday. However, this ambitious schedule frequently ran over, forcing everyone to return on Saturdays to wrap up scenes that couldn't be completed during the standard 5-day workweek. Director Peter Tewksbury, who helmed the majority of the show's episodes, insisted on additional rehearsal time beyond what was typical for television productions. He wanted the cast to rehearse until every movement and gesture became completely natural and automatic, believing this extra preparation would result in more authentic performances on camera. Eleanor Donahue later recalled how thorough these rehearsals were, explaining that they would practice even the smallest physical actions, like buttering toast or reading a book while running through their dialogue. The demanding schedule was also driven by the producer's determination to maintain consistently high production values throughout the series. Robert Young and his partner, Eugene B. Rodney, were willing to spend more money on production than they earned from initial broadcasts, knowing they could recoup their investment through syndication. This philosophy meant they spared no expense on quality except when it came to salaries, instead investing their resources in extended filming time and meticulous attention to detail. Fact 13. The director gauged success by watching for tears.
You mean where everybody goes around standing on his head? No.
But I told Betty anything her father could do, my father could do.
Father Knows Best had one of television's most emotionally invested directors in William Russell, who helmed the first 62 episodes of the series and became famous among the cast for his unusually passionate responses to the show's sentimental moments. Russell was described as a big man with a big voice who had the remarkable ability to cry easily, and his emotional reactions became an unofficial barometer for measuring the success of the show's more touching scenes. Robert Young and the rest of the cast developed a unique system for judging their own performances, based entirely on Russell's emotional state after filming concluded. According to Young, the actors would carefully watch Russell immediately after he yelled, "Cut," to see if his cheeks were wet with tears. If Russell had been moved to cry during a particularly heartfelt scene, the cast knew they had delivered an effective and emotionally resonant performance that would connect with audiences at home. This unusual method of gauging success became such a reliable indicator that the entire production team began to depend on Russell's emotional responses as their primary feedback mechanism. The director's tears served as a more immediate and honest assessment than any formal review process could provide, since Russell's reactions were completely spontaneous and genuine rather than calculated or professional. Russell's emotional investment in the show extended beyond just the sentimental family moments, as he genuinely cared about the characters and stories being told. His ability to be moved by the material he was directing helped ensure that Father Knows Best maintained its authentic emotional core throughout his tenure on the series. When Russell eventually left the show after directing those first 62 episodes, he was replaced by Peter Tewksbury, who brought a different directing style but maintained the same commitment to emotional authenticity that Russell had established. However, the cast never forgot their original director's tears as the ultimate measure of whether they had successfully captured the heart of the Anderson family's story. Fact 14. Springfield's real address was 607 South Maple Street.
Uh-oh, there's your boyfriend.
Oh, Mrs. Anderson.
Boyfriend? Oh, Mr. Kermit.
Remember now, Miss Sunbeam, no volunteering.
While most television families of the 1950s lived in vaguely defined suburban locations, the Anderson family had a complete and specific address that was occasionally mentioned throughout the series. 607 South Maple Street, Springfield, Illinois. This level of geographic detail was unusual for family sitcoms of the era, which typically avoided pinning down exact locations to help viewers feel the show could be taking place in their own hometown. The choice to locate the Andersons specifically in Springfield, Illinois, rather than leaving their location ambiguous, was reinforced by Jim Anderson's job as an insurance agent for the General Insurance Company, which was also established as being located in Illinois. This geographical specificity helped ground the show in a real American setting and gave the fictional family a sense of authenticity that many other television families lacked. The Anderson family's Springfield address has gained additional significance in television history due to its connection to another famous fictional family. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, has confirmed that he named his cartoon family's hometown of Springfield specifically after the Springfield featured in Father Knows Best. This means that both the Anderson family and the Simpson family officially live in the same city, though their neighborhoods and time periods are obviously quite different. The real-world impact of this address choice can still be felt today, as the house at 607 South Maple Street continues to exist in Springfield, Illinois, serving as a tangible reminder of the show's legacy. While the actual building has no connection to the television series beyond sharing the same address, its existence helps maintain the fiction that the Anderson family once lived in a real place rather than just on a Hollywood soundstage. This attention to geographic detail reflected the show's broader commitment to creating a believable American family that viewers could relate to and perhaps even imagine visiting in their real Illinois hometown. Fact 15. Jane Wyatt got more fan mail for playing Spock's mother.
Any competent officer can command this ship. Only you can give your father the blood transfusions that he needs to live.
Despite Jane Wyatt's 6-year run as America's beloved television mother, Margaret Anderson, she received more fan mail for a single Star Trek appearance than for her entire tenure on Father Knows Best. In 1967, Wyatt guest starred in the Star Trek episode Metamorphosis as Amanda Grayson, the human mother of the half-Vulcan science officer Spock, and this brief role generated an unexpectedly massive response from science fiction fans around the world. The Star Trek episode featured Amanda Grayson as a dying Federation diplomat who is saved by merging with an alien energy being, and Wyatt's performance as Spock's mother created an immediate connection with viewers who were fascinated by the backstory of one of the show's most popular characters. The role allowed Wyatt to explore a completely different type of maternal figure than Margaret Anderson, as Amanda was portrayed as a sophisticated, intelligent woman dealing with complex interspecies relationships and galactic politics. The fan response became even more intense when Wyatt reprised the role of Amanda Grayson in the 1986 film Star Trek IV: The Voyage, Home, which introduced her character to an even broader audience through the movie's theatrical release. Science fiction fans, who were known for their passionate dedication to their favorite shows and characters, wrote thousands of letters to Wyatt expressing their appreciation for her portrayal of Spock's mother. Wyatt herself was amazed by the volume and enthusiasm of the mail she received from Star Trek fans, noting that it far exceeded anything she had experienced during her years as one of television's most recognizable mothers. The response highlighted the incredible devotion of the Star Trek fan base and demonstrated how a single memorable performance could sometimes overshadow an entire career's worth of work, even when that career included playing one of the most iconic television mothers in American history.